Sainikpuri Community Hall మాజీ సైనికులు మేధావులతో సమావేశం జరుగుతోంది. కార్యక్రమానికి రక్షణ శాఖ మంత్రి నిర్మలా సీతారామన్ హాజరయ్యారు. ప్రస్తుతం నిర్మలా సీతారామన్ మాట్లాడుతున్నారు. లైవ్ చూద్దాం.
Overall, if India consumes nearly say 23-24 million tons of dal, we produce only 17. So that year the PM spent not just very quickly to import, also time to make sure that how we are going to in the future avoid such a crisis. I am going into details to say this only to tell you, this is the approach with everything that we have been dealing with after 10 years of rule. Now give me the luxury of talking about it for a minute. You've been 5 years in power, you are still talking about UPA non-performance. I will have to say it. 10 years of non-performance, you did not even think about what the halat was on dal, for instance, as an example. So the first year, we spent time to address the immediate crisis, different ones in different states, by importing from different countries, all of which had already been sold off, but whatever was left over was to be gotten here. And then identified different regions within the country which can grow those, made sure the farmers were given enough incentives, made sure that they moved their crop pattern, in the sense they moved out of a particular crop that they were cultivating, wheat or rice or whatever, and then asked them to cultivate the dal. That today we produce as much as we consume and more. So within 3 years, a country which couldn't supply the basic essential vegetarian protein for its own consumers had to import it, scramble for import, and not just one dal, so many different dals, but today every dal is available in sufficient quantity for us to consume as much as we want at reasonable prices, and the farmers have been given enough incentive that they were not, disincentivized. Earlier, the minimum support price which was being given for rice and wheat, although in the list of crops which require MSP support had 22 different crops, we were still giving largely for wheat and rice every year, increasing it also. So the incentive that is required for dal producers was not being given. So the reason, as I said earlier, I am elaborating on this is the extent to which you have to plan, you have to follow it up, you have to execute it to have end-to-end solutions. And this approach, not just for dal, for everything that this government has done till now. So I just want you to understand, it is not to solve current problem, but also to remove the systemic hurdles which exist in the decision making, that which is unglamorous to do. It never gets noticed by, let's say, the media, because they would want very quickly, to move from one to another, next important story. I'm not even blaming them, because we are the consumers of media's products. We like, okay, don't give me the story about the dal for 2 years, move on. We also want newer things. So the media moves on. But moves on with what? The next solution for next problem. But the solutions which have to be arrived at with so many not so attractive work, hard work, putting your time into the details of a file, sit at the desk and do it. That's exactly what is Prime Minister Modi's strength. He spends his time. He spends his time looking as to where the problem lies. And for that, what kind of solutions will have to be brought in. He brings in experts, he brings in people with that kind of a domain knowledge, makes them sit, ask them solutions, and then talks with various states, and then goes to execute them. In that, I'll start with the first thing about India. Since I'm in a locality which has extensive presence of ex-servicemen, let me tell you, the border situation, whether the roads, connectivity of all kinds, has been the priority of this government. Whether with the Chinese border or with the Pakistani border, the western front or the northern front or the eastern front, we are making sure access to our borders are being made in time. All kinds of agencies have been brought in. So the connectivity problem in terms of telephone connectivity, internet connectivity, all of them, not taking the conservative approach of, if you give that far to the border, enemy might use it. No, we are still giving it because we need for our soldiers and their families too. So we are moving on that. Obtaining some of the most sophisticated equipments which the armed forces need has been the priority. Literally every sector, every bit of requirement. The irony was when in 2014 an assessment was made as to what is the state of affairs. You must have, all of you are familiar with the debate. Do we have enough ammunitions to take care of this country if we were to go for an intensive war? Even for 10 days do we have it? At that time, no. We did not have enough ammunition to fight a war which might last for 10 days also. Very quick reviews were done. Powers were transferred to the vice chiefs of Army, Navy and Air Force, saying you buy what you want as quickly as you want from wherever you want, just so that you're going to be ready. That was the first thing we transferred and made sure that the capital procurement committed expenditures were not going to suffer because we didn't have enough money. We made sure the finance ministry kept giving us additional allowances if money was needed in addition to what was committed expenditure.